Hello, roller coaster gamers. I'm going to explain my day at Carowinds with more detail than I did last night. We are back at our house, and we just came back today from our hotel, and we had a great day yesterday. I think probably in terms of riding stuff, it was probably the best day at Carowinds that I've had because we got to do a lot within like 4.5 hours that we were there. So we got to the park at around 4:30. So we wanted to be there a little bit early here so that we could be ready to be in the park, and because we thought that there might be a lot of people there. We thought there would be a lot of people there, so we just got there early so we could try to be ahead of the crowds. And we were waiting there. It's open. We entered the park. We did Copperhead Strike first, which is a great idea to do Copperhead Strike first. I rode it front and back, and it's a coaster that my mom will actually ride because my mom is scared of heights, so she won't ride a lot of the roller coasters that have a big lift hill. So she didn't ride Intimidator or Fury 325. She won't do any of those. But Copperhead Strike is one of the ones she did ride, and I think that was her favorite ride that we rode at Carowinds. So that's nice. She liked that one. We all rode it in. Copperhead Strike is really fun. Last time I had it as like my second favorite coaster at Carowinds. My list has slightly changed from this last visit because I rode Intimidator 2 more times and had much better rides on it than the last time. So I think Intimidator used to be like my fourth favorite. I think it's gone up to like 2 or 3 because I think Afterburn is now number 4. I think I like Intimidator more than Afterburn now. It's around the same level as Copperhead Strike. I like those two about the same, and then Fury 325 is still my favorite. But Copperhead Strike, we rode that twice in a row. Then I rode Afterburn in the front row. I think the back row is probably like is more whippy, but the front row you can see the tunnels and stuff a lot more and everything. But yeah, that was fun, and we only rode that once. But and then after that we rode Intimidator, and we rode it in the very back, and it was really cool. It was probably the best floater airtime I had on it. So much floater airtime, in every hill it felt like we were floating. And my stepdad, he liked Intimidator a lot more than he thought he would, and it's probably like his favorite coaster at Carowinds that we rode because he really likes floater airtime a lot. That's like one of his favorite things. So he liked that, and my stepdad, my dad, and my mom were all with here. So it was interesting, but my stepdad would ride some of the things, some of the rides, but sometimes he would skip just because my mom doesn't ride as many of them as we do, so he would hang out with her while my dad and I would just go on. And like, because I wanted my dad to come because he really likes to go Six Flags with us. So I wanted him to go to Carowinds. So he went with us, and we had a blast. So because my dad really likes riding roller coasters and stuff. So we rode Intimidator. It was really fun. Then we rode Fury 325. My stepdad rode it. It was his second favorite behind Intimidator, I think, and he likes Millennium Force at Cedar Point better than Fury 325. He was slightly disappointed by Fury 325. He still thought it was an excellent ride, but he was a little disappointed by it. So I think he liked Intimidator better, and then he liked, I think, for the two Giga coasters that he's ridden, which are Fury 325 and Millennium Force, I think he prefers Millennium Force. I think I slightly prefer Fury 325 because I rode it in the front row, or my stepdad didn't, but my dad and I did. We rode it in the front row, and it was crazy. It was just as crazy as Millennium Force in the front row. And because you're on Millennium Force, you get all that like wind and everything just as much as Fury 325 in the front. Like so much like force and G-force and everything. But on Millennium Force, you're kind of doing that while on these more gradual turns and everything. On Fury 325, you're getting that wind in your face while going through these rapid turns and everything. So it makes it feel more intense, I think. And it was crazy. Like our on-ride photo, I didn't purchase any photos or anything, but our eyes were like shut, like the wind was causing our eyes to like close our eyes. It's causing us to do that. So it was so intense and awesome. It was my first time to ever get to ride in the front row because it was literally like dead. The lines were very short. At most of the rides we waited in were station waits, and we just walked on to a lot of rides, and we got straight up to Fury 325. They weren't choosing rows for people because it was a very light day, so we just got to the front row, and it was great. And then after that, we rode we went to I'm trying to think we rode Hurler. We rode the Hurler. I got to ride the Hurler. Hurler is one of the ones I didn't get last time, and Vortex. And I got to ride Hurler and Vortex this time. Those are the two major coasters I needed to get. We almost rode Ricochet, the Wild Mouse, but the Ricochet was probably one of the longer lines there. So we just said but rode Hurler. It was kind of boring. Wasn't much airtime on the hills, and it was kind of rough on the turns, on some of the turns. The airtime hills, though they didn't give much airtime, were pretty smooth. They weren't that bad. It was a lot of the you take a lot of turns. Those were kind of bumpy and everything. So Hurler is just kind of I don't know what to think of it. So then after Hurler rode it was one that my mom rode also because it's not that tall, so she can handle it. And then after Hurler, we went and rode Flying Cobras, I think. Yeah, we rode Flying Cobras, and my mom said that we all rode that one, and it wasn't quite as good as last time. I thought it was a bit rougher than it was last time, but it's still probably like my fifth favorite at the park. It's probably still like number 5. It's still pretty, I guess, cool. I guess because I haven't ridden any other boomerangs. So it was cool, and then after that we rode some of the flat rides. Like we rode like I don't remember the names of them, but we rode like this one. There's a top scan in that area. I rode that, and then there's one right next to it that has these 3 things that kind of go like twirl around like that. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, that top scan ride right there in that section next to Flying Cobras was really crazy. It was interesting. It was cool, and it was weird. It was so weird. You flipped. It's like sometimes you're sideways, sometimes you're flipping and like going upside down and everything. It was just very disorienting, but it was cool. And then after that, my dad and I went and rode Windseeker. Last time I was at Carowinds, I was next in line for Windseeker before the riders in front of us that were on the ride got stuck like about halfway, like about 2/3 of the way up, I think, and they were stuck and they had to like slowly lower them back down. So it basically closed when we went then because people got stuck. It got stuck towards the top. So this time I got to ride it. It was really cool. Gave a great view of the park, and I actually like it better than Sky Screamer at Six Flags Over Georgia because Sky Screamer I think is meant to be more of a thrill ride, but Windseeker is taller and it's slower, so it's meant to gives this incredible view of the park. You can see like everything. You get a great view of Intimidator, Copperhead Strike. You can see its entire layout. It's awesome, and you can see Fury 325. You can see Charlotte and everything. You can see Charlotte from the top of any coaster there. Like Carowinds is not that hilly, so so easy to see Charlotte, the city of Charlotte, in the distance from a lot of tops of a lot of the coasters there. But after we rode Windseeker, we rode I think we took a little break from riding stuff. We had like some of their crab seasoned fries or whatever they were, and they were good. That's all we ate there. We had eaten lunch just before we went to the park, so like a late lunch. So we didn't really buy much food from inside the park. We bought some like a cup of fries or something, and then we had some cups with soda and everything. And then we went, after that we went and rode Vortex. It was another one my mom rode because it's not that tall, so she can handle riding it. And Vortex, I think it was bad because it was at night, so I couldn't see where it was going. I think that's the main thing that was bad about it. It had just turned dark when it had just started to get dark when we got on it, but it's nowhere near as bad as people say it is. I think it's the similar theme with Nighthawk. Nighthawk I didn't really enjoy, but it is a lot better than people said. And same for Vortex. It wasn't that rough. I mean, my legs felt fine. It didn't really bother my legs. A lot of people say it turns your legs to jelly and everything. I think it's because I did have the restraint much lower. I don't know. And I kept my kept my head pretty still. I kept my head like in a stuck position so I wouldn't bang it against the restraints. But the corkscrew was pretty bad, actually. That's probably the real main part that bothered me, is just like that. But the rest of it was not that bad. It was still not great. Georgia Scorcher at Six Flags Over Georgia is definitely a better stand-up coaster, but Vortex is not as bad as people said. And I might redo a top. I might, instead of making a new top 9, because that makes 9 roller coasters that I've gotten to ride, I might, at the end of this video, make a brief top 9. It's not enough to make a top 10. I would have to ride another coaster to make it that way. I'd probably ride Woodstock Express or something like that. But almost got on Ricochet, but that didn't happen. So after Vortex rode Fury 32, we rode Fury 325 at night. My mom almost got on it because it's at night, so if you're scared of heights, it's probably not as bad as not at night because you can't see as much how high you are. We were up and she got onto the train, and then the last minute she just quit. and got off. So very close for her to get on that. And it was awesome at night. And then and I've ridden it at night before, but it's still awesome at night. And that going through that tunnel that goes under the bridge that you walk over into the park, that goes under that pathway, is awesome, and it's lit up and everything. And it was hauling. Like, if you look at it, like as we were exiting the park after we were done with our day, you could see it was flying like a freaking bullet. And it looked much faster than when it first opened. Like, if you looked in the footage that I filmed right before we enter the park, it Fear 225's like treble clef element, that it looked like it went a bit slower at the top of that, which is supposed to slow down a little bit anyway right there, so you can kind of get a sideways weightlessness feeling there. But at night we were walking by and it was flying through that turn way faster than it was before. And when at night you feel like you're just flying through like space or something. Like it's like pitch black, and it's crazy. So yeah. And then after that we rode what they call the Scrambler. It's like it's an Enterprise ride. And they have a scrambler type of ride there, but it's not. I guess it's not called Scrambler, and they named their Enterprise Scrambler. And it was my first time on one of those. I never got a chance to ride the wheelie at Six Flags Over Georgia when it was still around, and I never got to ride Witch's Wheel at Cedar Point because they closed it the year before we went to make room for that Backspeed's barbecue place. But rode this, and it was actually pretty fun. I actually liked it. They were removing a lot of them and everything, and I don't understand why they're doing that, because I thought it was a pretty good ride. It made you a little dizzy, but it was awesome. Like, you're going around, and it was actually pretty cool. I actually really liked it a lot, so that was fun. And then after that, we decided to ride Intimidator again, and we rode it in the front row, and it was a lot. It was so, like, it didn't give as much airtime as before, but I felt a lot more G-force. I thought it was more intense in the front. We rode it on the two outer seats, because I love sitting on the outer seats a lot. And it was really cool at night, and you felt a little bit more wind. Nowhere near as much as like Fear 325 or anything, but it was still there. And it was pretty cool. And then after that we left the park, and we had a great day. We rode a lot more. We rode a lot more rides within 5 hours than we did in 2 days when I went with the course. I was probably at Carowinds for like 4.5 to 5, about 4 hours when I first, on my first ever visit with my stepdad's brother. And because we got rained out like halfway through the day, so we didn't get to ride everything. But it was before Copperhead Strike came out, and we got to ride Fury 325, Intimidator, Afterburn, Flying Cobras, Carolina Cyclone, and stuff. And then when we went with the course, sorry about that. When we went with the course, we got to ride Copperhead Strike when it was soon after it came out, and then just went this time and had a great time. Parents had a great time, and it was awesome. So I need to hurry up and do this before my camera dies. So I'm gonna briefly make my top 9 right now, just really quick. Okay. Number 9 is still Carolina Cyclone. That's still my least favorite coaster at Carowinds. Number 8 is probably the Hurler. And then number 7 is Nighthawk. Number 6 is Vortex. Number 5 is Flying Cobras. Number 4 is Afterburn. Number 3, I'm gonna say Copperhead Strike. And that doesn't mean Copperhead Strike was worse than it was last time. Maybe maybe since I knew how it was like before, maybe it wasn't quite as good as my first time when I was really surprised by it, but it's still awesome. But it was mainly because Intimidator just was a lot better this time than it was last time. So Intimidator is number 2, and then Fury 325 number 1, like, of course. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video explaining my time at Carowinds, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.